It's pretty cool. I'm like, all right.
Very cool. Yeah, I know there's so many on YouTube now that you can find that it's just, yeah.
Oh, there's
You
tons.
could,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
tons. And they have them
Now,
for all different genres. Whether you like Celtic
hmm
music, rock music, Japanese, you name it. There's a genre that you can find.
Now, if somebody has never seen you wrestle before, what are 3 matches that you would recommend they look up?
That's a good question. Let's see, let me try to think. Any of the ones with actually now I can answer that. So me and Calvin Tankman from the 2017 TPI.
Nice.
That was a good one because that was a breakout match for him. And we did a lot of stuff. We did a lot. We did a combination of strong style wrestling and lucha in that match, and that's one of my favorite matches.
He's a good dude.
Yeah. There was one from NWA Circle City where I wrestled Ken Anderson. That
Oh.
was a really fun one. I wasn't in the best shape physically in that match, but we told a really good story, and I really enjoyed it a lot. And I'm trying to think. Man, I've done a lot of matches. I'm trying to think of something that would stand out, and it would be online. Most of my matches are on IWTV too, and on YouTube. There's a ton of them on YouTube. I wish I could find it, but I did a tag match with Warlord and Barbarian. That was a
Oh,
blast.
wow.
I wish I could find that match. That was for Heroes and Legends Wrestling up in Indiana. They're in Tennessee now. But I was part of their tag team champions, and we wrestled Barbarian and Warlord. That was a fun match. I remember that one because Terry Taylor was there. He had done a seminar, and he asked about finishers and stuff. He was like, "Who has an interesting finisher in the group?" And I'm sitting there, hoodie up, just listening. Raised my hand. I was like, "Well, I use a heart punch." And he's like, "Seriously?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It fits my gimmick. I get. We ask you, it fits my gimmick, and I can hit anybody with it." You know. He's like, "I like that." And of course, I wasn't in gimmick at the time. I was just doing a seminar. He
hmm
watches the matches, and I got to hit Barbarian with the heart punch, which that was really cool. I hit him with the heart punch, and then we came back around. He hit me with the big boot, and it was really neat. It was kind of cool because he got excited about that. He was like, "You do a heart punch?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I got to take that." I go, "Okay." Then we come back to I was like, "Okay, Barbarian, that's a heart punch. I just want to get kicked in the face by you and say I did. All right, cool."
Yeah.
And nicest guys. Oh, so easy to work with. I felt bad for Warlord because he was jet lagged. He was so tired.
Yeah, oh, I imagine.
Yeah, and we get back still enormous, still one of the biggest men I've ever seen in my life. But Terry Taylor watched all the matches, and he comes back and he goes, "You're the kid," which I'm like, "Thanks for calling me a kid. I'm 38 years old at the time. Thank you." He goes, he's like, "You're the kid that was up there at the seminar, in the gray hoodie and stuff, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I would have had no clue that was you until you hit him with the heart punch and then it clicked." He goes, "You look totally different as far as you move, this and that." He goes, "You look twice your size in the ring with the way you present yourself." That's probably the biggest compliment I've gotten from somebody from the seminar. But the fact that he sat and watched every match, and as people came back, critiqued him. Terry Taylor's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in wrestling. And I learned so much from him just in a weekend. If I could do that weekend all over again 10 times, I would learn something different every time. But if we could find that match, that would be amazing.
We will definitely, I will scour the internet, and try to find it, and, we'll make that work.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun ones at IWA. I worked with Eddie Kingston at IWA. That was a good one. Me and Mance Warner got to work with Kingston and Homicide.
Wow.
Yeah, we worked with them, and then we worked with the Workhorsemen too. Anthony Henry and James Drake. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
they're
lot of
such
fun too.
good. They're underrated. I think. I think they should be
Oh,
getting more
they're
TV time than they
amazing.
are. But yeah, they're still putting on
Yeah,
amazing matches, and so
I don't
yeah.
know why they're not. I don't know why they're not. The only thing I can think of why they're not getting more TV time is aesthetics.
Oh, of
Because
course.
Anthony Henry's very small. He's a small guy, but he looks like a
Yeah.
beast though. He's a machine, and Drake looks like Arn Anderson, like a big Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like or Big Boss Man, you know.
Yeah.
But he can go. They're so good.
Yeah. Like if it was the '80s, they would have no issue whatsoever putting him over.
I told Drake that. I was like, well, both of us. You were born in the wrong era.
Yeah.
Like he's our modern day Ray Trailer.
Yeah. Maybe he should just be Big Bubba Rogers and see how that works out for him.
They had him dressed like that at AEW for a while, kind of doing the Big Bubba Rogers look and stuff, and I loved it. I don't know what ever happened with it. I kind of stopped watching after a while just because I was busy doing other stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
I know they had him in that and the fedora and everything else for a minute. I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Unless it
It
may
was
have been like
brief.
okay, that could be why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was brief.
they move so fast between things too that sometimes if you're not watching, then you're not going to catch it.
Yeah, some of the stuff they didn't seem to like give time to settle and let burn and really get going. It would start
Yeah,
to sizzle a bit and then they would kill it off. I was like, what are you doing? Let stuff go. Let it build up.
yeah, exactly.
People don't
Yeah,
have
you got to let it
patience with
breathe.
storylines anymore.
No, which is funny because like they work so closely with New Japan, who has like the longest time to tell stories. Like it'll take years sometimes to tell a complete story, but yet here
Yeah.
in I mean, I get it. It's the American attention span versus the Japanese one, which is
Yeah.
vastly different. But yeah, you would still think that as a old school fan, as Tony Khan is, that he would allow more stuff to breathe and like kind of marinate and then come back to it.
Right. And I think part of it's like he's still learning. Like he's still a big kid with a new toy. Like I think he has a
Oh, of
huge
course.
passion for it. And I it drives me nuts sometimes because people will crap on AEW like, oh, look at where they're at. They're trying, look at their numbers compared to WWE. Look at this. I'm like, oh, they've only
You
been around
can't look
5
at
years.
this.
I'm like, most companies aren't even around this long. I was like, and they're still a mainstay doing pretty good, with
Yeah.
what they have. And they came in guns blazing. It's not like they came in, fiddling around. They don't know totally what they're doing. Hell, WWE almost went bankrupt how many times? You're
Right?
comparing a company, you're comparing a company that has a 30-year fan following to one that's only been around 5 years, and some people don't even still know about. Like, you can't compare that.
No, and the fact that people are still comparing or even trying to compare ratings in general is just so dumb because no one, okay, I'm not going to say no one. The amount of people that still watch it live is drastically different than it was when they actually were competing for ratings in the mid to late 90s because we
Oh,
have
yeah,
these
not good.
things in our hands at all times that distract us from everything that we get to watch our wrestling whenever we want because we can still go out and enjoy life and do things that we want to and not be handcuffed to, oh crap, what time is it? All right, I got to be home because my favorite show's on, or they're like live sports in general. Obviously, it does fall in that world, but at the same time, you still have the opportunity and luxury that you can watch it again whenever you want, or if you don't want to watch the whole show, you can catch so many clips on Twitter or Instagram or I imagine TikTok as well. I don't have a TikTok, but I imagine that's how it also works. But you can
Oh,
catch
yeah.
your clips wherever you want. Yeah. Or just wait till the next day and because you don't have cable and catch highlights on YouTube. You don't have to watch it when it's live. And the fact that we even still compare ratings just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's impossible to compare. We're an on-demand society now. Like,
Mhm.
we're not, like you said, you don't have to tune in at a certain time. And even if you do miss the show, you can go back and you can rewind it. You can pick it up where you want to. You can skip through parts if you want. Like, you know, if I'm watching through and I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch this Velvet Sky match, you know, let me bump through this and watch, you know, Kingston and whatever. You don't have to, you know. For the live shows, they still do track ratings for the networks and stuff and viewer count.
Of course.
You know, like, I'll listen to Cornette's podcast and stuff sometimes when I'm on the road, and he'll go over numbers and stuff where they picked up and dropped off. And I think it is a good way and measure of who's over and who's not, because you can see where stuff drops off and what people are watching and interested in. But it's really hard to compare who's got the better product and viewership, I think, just based off of that alone, especially if you're comparing, like you said, 30 some odd years against, you know, a 5-year company, you know, even comparing them to TNA and Impact. If you want to make that comparison, you know, that might be more of a fair comparison. But
I think you could maybe do that, but yeah, even with Impact TNA, like, it's just, I don't know, because you had, like, it became different owners. Obviously, they didn't have, or the different TV channels that they were on, and then they, I don't know, they just somehow couldn't, well, also they just did so much studio wrestling that whenever they did go to different markets, sometimes it really didn't work. It's always weird kind of comparing that one to WWE, because, like you said, WWE was WWF. Before that, it was WWF. And it, you know, anything that can make it in New York, like the song says, can make it anywhere. And so, especially when Vince Jr. bought it and really killed the territory situation, took the best talent and, you know, made it more national than global. And so people think pro wrestling, they think WWF, or if they know, WWE. It's the same way with MMA. If they think MMA, they think UFC. They don't think Bellator. They don't think Pride. They don't think PFL now. They only know UFC, and that's it. When it comes to pro wrestling, for the most part, they only know WWE or WWF, and that's it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, aside what they might glance and see on the internet, that don't even think there's much out there wrestling wise besides WWF. WWE. If they're not actual fan, you know, and you walk up to a casual person that doesn't watch wrestling, they're like, hey, what do you know about pro wrestling? Oh yeah, WWE. Oh, Steve Austin. Oh, Roman Reigns. You know? They don't know anything about like New Japan or Impact or, you know, they wouldn't know who an Eddie Kingston is, you know. I mean, AEW. Well, what's that? You know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, people have known me as a fan of wrestling since forever. And so anytime they pull up anything that becomes somewhat viral wrestling wise, they'll, you know, send it to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's this person and this person. Like, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know they were even around. And I was like, yeah, they, you know, and then I know now not to go into too much detail because I don't want to glaze people's eyes over, but you know, they know if it's pro wrestling, they're coming to me and they're fine. Now, I mean, speaking of which, you started in '99. That was roughly close to the end of that boom, and now we're in another gigantic wrestling boom. What do you, as someone who's been in the business for 25 years now, which congratulations on making it for 25 years, where do you kind of see the next, we'll say just 5 years, because, you know, the way technology is changing on a regular basis, and you never know what company is going to start up or what company is not going to make it. Like, so what do you feel like the next 5 years kind of looks like when it comes to pro wrestling?
Yeah, my timing was impeccable. I got in at the end of the boom, and now as I get older in my 40s, we're in the next great boom. I'm like, oh, awesome. Saving grace though is, and I guess kind of a side note, the thing it drove me nuts was, when I was watching wrestling originally, the guys that really got the pushes and was really doing great in the mainstream guys didn't get that until they were in their late 30s, early 40s. That's when they really took off, because they were seasoned vets. And as I was going through my career, it's like, oh no, we want the guys that are, 20